My dear friends, as you may remember, each year I pick a actor or a director, some sort of creative in the film industry, to further explore their catalog. And while I might have been exposed to them in the past, I want to deepen my knowledge of their filmography. And with the year of Mel Gibson being over from 2024, 2025 is the year of Brian De Palma, who you might remember from such little films as Scarface and the first Mission Impossible movie with Tom Cruise, and The Untouchables. You know, a minor bit director. Well, at the suggestion of dear friend Mark Taramino, I decided to kick off the year of Brian De Palma with one of his earliest movies, Phantom of the Paradise. And I have never said, what the fuck is going on here, so early or so often as I did in this movie. Within the first scene, I asked aloud to no one else, because I was watching it by myself, what the fuck is going on in this movie? And then in every scene that followed, I repeated the same question because it was fresh in my mind. What the hell am I watching? And I mean that in the most glorious way possible, my friends. This thing is an absurdist masterwork. It's very dark and yet highbrow. It's got phenomenal production values and performances. It's like if Wes Anderson made a musical. Or for that matter, if Quentin Tarantino decided to make a Grindhouse musical. That's what this thing feels like. And similar to Grindhouse movies, there's an Italian genre called giallo movies. It's basically an Italian exploitation flick. This feels like that. So if you made a giallo Rocky Horror Picture Show, it's complex, it's tasty, it's existentialist, it's got dynamite music in it. And I could have sworn that Jim Steinman had something to do with this, because if you've ever listened to any of the good Meatloaf music, all of that operatic, Wagnerian, over-the-top production value, everything louder than everything else music, all written by Jim Steinman, R.I.P. And even though this was made in 1974, it has the feel of an epic 80s horror film. And I am not kidding y'all, how haunting this movie gets. How effective the performances and the cinematography and everything else is. It's phenomenal. And in a lot of ways, this movie is ahead of its time. But it does fit in a very small genre that some of you may be exposed to, including Rocky Horror Picture Show, Shock Treatment, more recently Repo, the genetic opera, and other such bizarre, insane, dark musicals. I think it's inspired. I believe this is an absolute work of art that deserves every bit of praise that it gets. However, it is a fair assessment for anybody to watch this movie and call it retarded. Just as it's fair for them to look at me and call me retarded. Especially for thinking this is an inspired masterwork. But it is. So what is this saying? What happens in it? Take Phantom of the Opera and combine it with Faust and turn all the intensity of the elements present in those stories as hard and as high as you can go until the handles snap off and you can't turn it back down. This movie may inspire existential dread in you, but boy howdy does it do it with such panache and flair, and the soundtrack in this thing is just simply amazing. And it should be, because music was directed by Paul Williams, who also happens to be the bad guy in the movie, and he does a phenomenal job of it. That guy, you might have heard a song called We've Only Just Begun, or just an old-fashioned love song. So massive hits from history he wrote, and pretty much anybody that's anybody from earlier days of music, including the king himself, Elvis Presley, have recorded a Paul Williams song at some point. The dude is a musical powerhouse. And this movie really showcases that. It is beautiful. And so while he plays the bad guy that hoodwinks our socially completely inept, aspiring musician on a quixotic journey to make Faust into a song and get this chick that he met one time and who he fell completely for to be the one to sing it, hijinks ensue. Everybody gets caught in double deals where they are the price, and absolute madness happens scene by scene. Now, that female singer I mentioned is played by Jessica Harper, who you might also know from Shock Treatment. And while she's a good actress and sells the role, her voice seems really underpowered for what she's supposed to be doing in either one of these movies. But I don't mind. I enjoyed her performance. And while I do encourage the more rarefied film aficionados among you to watch this thing, I do give you homework before you do to make sure that you're prepared for what's about to happen to you. Now, back to talking about me being retarded. The people that will enjoy this movie will really enjoy it. And the people who don't get it will think I'm retarded for recommending it. So, to identify whether you are the kind of person who should watch Phantom of the Paradise or if you should steer clear of Phantom of the Paradise, there's 2 movies I need you to have seen so I can sign off on your permission slip to watch this thing. First, Rocky Horror Picture Show. And this movie does bear some similarities to it. And 2, you need to have been so into weird movies that you watched The Forbidden Zone by musical powerhouse Danny Elfman. If you've seen and enjoyed both of those movies, watch Phantom of the Paradise and be prepared to say, what the fuck is happening in this movie?